Welcome everyone to Already Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Tara, and we talk about TV shows here. The year is 2021, and the name of the show is Babylon 5. So, full spoilers for the episode, which is Season 3, Episode 11. It is called Ceremonies of Light and Dark. And this is obviously the aftermath of all the big stuff that's went down over the last 3 episodes, and we have some lingering night watch creeping about, and that's going to be a big part of the plot of this episode. But we also have the continued... what are you doing the evil I'm getting a free sandwich hands for? What's this?
Yes. Go on.
Well, I was going to mention we get the continued struggle of, like, you know, what are they now if they're not Earth Alliance, and that obviously the subject of Sheridan's uniform comes up, and it kind of spirals out to others as well. That's something that comes up here. Cole's back. He's doing things. Yes, I said Cole. You can live with it, people. And I will also say we get a shocking turn of events where Lanier reveals his true love to everyone. I don't know what you want me to say. What is it?
We get another love confession.
Oh, sure, yes. Okay, yes. Okay. Yes.
Oh my god.
Sheridan.
Oh my god.
Sheridan and Delenn.
I gasped and clapped my hands over and over again, and this did nothing for you?
No, it did, but I wasn't aware that I was to preview that in my list of previews.
It's very important. We start with the Sheridan Delenn news, and then the rest follows.
Okay.
That is the order of these shows from now on.
Yes, they share some sweet moments, even down to the fact that early on when Sheridan's with Ivanova and Garibaldi, and she comes in and says, "Hey, is this a bad time?" And Sheridan immediately goes, "No, you two can take this from here, right? I'll go with Delenn. Yeah, you two."
I laughed so hard at that scene because, like, they had this super, like, they're resetting, like, all the ship's computer and stuff, and they have to put in their super secret codes in order to do it, and, like, they didn't lock the door.
Peekaboo.
Obsidian
and Griffin, I think, was the other one.
Yeah.
I mean, the small moment with Garibaldi and Ivanova where she's like, "Peekaboo," he's like, "Would you have guessed it?" And she's like, "Fair point." It is, I mean, it's on brand for Garibaldi, admittedly, but still very random. So yeah, we have this aftermath. We have the station dealing with the fact that there's still some Night Watch around and try to sort of wean them out. But of course, we have a rebellious group that are planning an attack. In fact, one of them is about to kill Sheridan right at the start of the episode. Sheridan wants to make a point of going out and interacting with everyone, because if he feels like if he's hiding in his office, that he's, maybe things aren't stable. But by him going out there without an armed escort like Garibaldi wants, it feels like everything's normal, everything's fine. See, like, I'm comfortable coming out and saying hello. Everything's good. But there is a sniper who is going to kill, and I actually kind of laughed a little bit later on, in a good way, at the fact that this crazy guy in this group who was going to kill Sheridan later on, and injuring Delenn, actually did shoot at his heart by the end of the episode, just not literally. Come on, that's beautiful. It's poetic, is what that is. But I suppose we have to address that. So that in this plot, we have this group who their plan is to kidnap Delenn and one of the captains of the Minbari ships, which they do about halfway through the episode. And their plan is to hold them at ransom and force the Minbari fleet to leave so Earth can come in and take control of the station again. We have to address that the acting of our guest stars in this group is not...
we're back, baby. We're back.
There's a particularly kind of laughable scene where the crazier one, who really just wants to kill Minbari, and he talks about how he's carved off their hands and stuff, he starts just singing. You know the old song that kids learn in school about how the bones, like, to learn the anatomy of the human body. He does a kind of really weird bastardized version of that, which is not the right lyrics, but he just kind of goes, "The foot bone's connected to the ankle bone. The ankle bone's connected to the the leg bone. That's covering a lot of area. So you got your shin, you got your kneecap, you got the thigh. There's a whole leg is a lot of parts. There's a lot of parts to the leg.
I don't know. I never really learned that song growing up. We didn't sing it in Canada.
I didn't learn it either, but I've heard it. I've heard it in passing. I've heard it in other, scenes in movies and stuff where they're teaching kids things.
Mm-hmm. I don't know much about bone anatomy.
Nor do I. That's not the point. The point is how intense and dramatic this guy is. He's just staring off at his face.
He's definitely channeling like the past 10 years of movies where they take a sweet song and turn it all somber and sinister sounding. But yeah, he's not very good.
No, and the main guy's not much better, but at least he doesn't try to do this. The main guy who does all the speaking is not a great actor.
Yeah, the guy with the scar.
Yeah, but he's not trying to do this like intense, like I'm crazy performance that this guy is.
Yeah.
Not that it's a huge deal in the grand scheme of things, because ultimately it's more about what it does for our main characters. But it does mean the plot itself is a little bit like, yeah, this is a plot of the week in a lot of ways, even though the ramifications of what they're going to admit to each other and what this shows is about...
Pretty high note at the end, though.
Yeah, but what it shows is about how people who don't agree with this new position that Babylon 5 has, this new status quo, its new independent status, like, this shows that no, there is at least for a while, there's going to be people to get rid of that are going to be dead set against this and are going to be mad that this thing exists. Because that's the end of the episode, is that when they do come out at the end, which we'll get to the other part of what makes that special, they're like, no, we're open for business again, because they've been kind of shut down. They've been locked up and like not letting anyone come in. There's been no ships coming in and out. Outside of obviously the Minbari ship, but that's like part of the fleet that's surrounding them. So, but they've not been open for Babylon 5 business, as it were. And that's why they're rebooting the computer, because they know that as soon as they turn the computer back on, or the comms rather, as soon as they unlock the comms, the Earth can take control of the computer, which is why they're changing all their passwords. They're going in and changing all their two-factor authenticators. I want to say authentication, but I stumbled when I tried to switch to it. And now I look a fool.
It's about time that you did that instead of me. Anyway.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, this episode's actually quite silly for a lot of it, mostly because the villains of the week are like pretty goofy, but it ends on a pretty high note, and a substantial part of the ending.
Yeah.
Not just like the last final scene, like the scene with the Len and then the follow-up scene.
Yeah,
the pretty high notes.
The last 5 minutes are pretty great and are a big deal for the show going forward, which all throughout the episode before she's kidnapped, because there's a lot of time before she's kidnapped, she's trying to arrange a rebirth ritual for everyone. And it's basically they all have to show up and kind of admit to someone something they've never told anyone, and she's trying to get everyone on board. And I kind of loved the almost the joke here, and we'll speak a lot. Londo's got his own little scene as well, it's separate from this, but I love that everyone's like, you're inviting Londo to this thing? Londo? And she's like, no, he's the first person I thought of inviting, because he's the one who needs to admit and like make amends, and
he needs a rebirth.
Yeah, and Londo, as he probably could have predicted, laughs in her face and says no. That's basically the gist of it.
Well, I mean, Londo tried to attempt to keep his friends on Babylon 5 while he was doing terrible things, and was rejected over and over again, as he should have been. And now I guess he's taking it personal, but like, what does he expect?
Yeah. But I almost like the weird dichotomy that Jakar also turns her down, and he's much nicer about it. He's like, no, I'm too busy trying to like, I'm running security.
He's on
now,
another plane of existence now. He's he's got the spirit in him.
But no, he says that he's too busy. He's trying to make sure that the Narn security do a good job, so that when things are back to normal, that Sheridan will want to keep them around and give them this purpose and sort of keep them in this position.
He's like, I'll try to catch the end.
I almost thought he missed an opportunity here, because because he cracks a joke when she says, "Oh, it's to be reborn," and he says something to the effect, "Well, I was already born once," and I think it's quite sufficient, or and it's a fine line, but given that he had kind of like a spiritual reawakening recently, I almost thought it was a missed opportunity to have him just say, "Oh, I just had a rebirth. I've had a rebirth recently.
Or at
I'm
least
good."
be a little bit more sympathetic to it.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a dick in the scene by any means. He's not like Londo. He's actually.
I mean, that's kind of a dickish line.
Not to me. Maybe it's my sense of humor, but I think that's a perfectly acceptable jab to throw.
I was born once. It is a jab, though, right? A little bit.
Yeah, I don't know.
To Delenn.
Maybe I'm too snarky to see this as a rude, rude line.
I mean, just a hint. It was a funny line. I don't mind it, but like,
yeah. But it's just interesting that both Ricard and Londo, for different reasons, admittedly, but it's interesting that those two, who are the polar opposites of this big conflict and all that, are both turning her down. In a similar way. Even that said, even Cole's trying to turn her down as well throughout the episode. And he needs his rebirth because he feels too much guilt over his brother dying and him still being alive to continue this mission, and he feels that anyone he gets close to dies in turn. So yeah, that's the thing going on. So anyway, the reason why I'm explaining all this, of course, is that basically being kidnapped kind of puts a damper on the whole thing, with one exception, which we'll get to Lanier's scene with Cole separately, is that it basically puts a kibosh in the whole thing. So, but our characters, and Sheridan's talked throughout the episode about his uniform and how he's not going to wear it again. He decides to put on the formal version for the funeral because they're basically everyone who died in the fight. We get like a funeral scene. Where they're sending them all to the sun. Yep. It is very Wrath of Khan in a lot of ways. It's one of those things where I don't know if it's necessarily so much that they're copying Wrath of Khan, or it's just that Wrath of Khan did the thing that makes sense for them to do in space. So now every sci-fi movie and TV show that does like a space funeral feels like it makes you think of Wrath of Khan because that was the one that kind of did it first.
Right. I mean, I got Wrath of Khan vibes also, but like, what? I don't know. It didn't bother me. They did it well, so why not?
To the point where Sheridan was giving a speech, and I almost felt like at one point maybe he was going to slip into
Theirs were the most human.
But so this is kind of this lingering thing. Like, okay, I'll put the uniform on this one last time because we're honouring all those people who died. But after that, I'm not wearing it until this is all done.
Yeah.
And basically, because she can't go to the rebirth funeral, because she gets stabbed when they come to rescue her, the crazy guy throws a knife in her back, and she leaps to save John Sheridan. She's like, John! And she leaps in front of him. It's heartbreaking. Mm-hmm. But because of that, she's in medbay, and Sheridan comes in with his uniform, right? And he sort of like offers it as a, like, this is the physical representation of what I'm about to say, is that I'm giving this up. And he gives this speech about how he was worried for her, how much she means to him now. He doesn't know how and when it happened, but he's glad it did. And that he doesn't say the words "I love you," but he effectively
says, "I can't imagine my life without you anymore."
I mean, that's yeah. It's a roundabout way of saying it. Like, they're saving the L word for a bit, but
they are. And then he just walks out. Like, come on, that's not enough.
But she looks very receptive. She smiles. She holds his hand. But the reason why he walks out is because I don't think we saw this coming, and this is why you're surprised at this moment, is that they're all going to do it still. So in walks Garibaldi with his uniform, and talks about how he's scared of falling off the wagon. He doesn't use that terminology, but that's effectively what he says.
He says he's always afraid of losing control.
Yeah, which I took, at least in part, to be relative to his addiction, yeah. Ivanova comes in, hands her uniform in, and part of me was thinking, wait, they all just going to be like in the CNC and the civvies from now on? That's going to look kind of weird. But Ivanova comes in and puts down her uniform, and this was a little funny because it was like, because of like the way Talia's plot ended and how they had to kind of like get rid of her. But it's also kind of reassuring because we were recognizing the signs, and it was kind of sweet for her to just say, I think I was in love with Talia, and then just walks out. Like, she's finally admitting that to someone.
Yeah. It does seem like a bit of a missed opportunity of like, well, they really should have done more with it. Like, it was a really great episode, the way that they handled that, and where we were like, wait a second, is there like a romance going on? But it feels like it was, maybe they could have had some more things going for that. I don't know if they just like came up with the idea because the actress was leaving, and they were like,
"Oh no! We know this. Basically there was only so much they were going to let him do on TV in the 90s.
mm-hmm.
So like what we got was,
okay.
I believe, was as much as he was allowed to show on screen with this, potential gay romance.
Okay.
But it was definitely there, because I think when you think back to some of their scenes, it definitely felt like they were going on little dates, like on the run up to that, if you remember, when they were getting to know each other.
It was mostly a pretty antagonistic relationship between them.
But before that, but in the run up to that episode, there was, they started to
there
meet
was
and bond.
I remember one like
there was a few
meetup thing.
Yeah, there was a few leading up to that episode that you're referring to, where they actually had the romantic moments, which led to the big twist.
Deep Space Nine had the same problem. There was a gay couple that the actors were playing that way, and like the fans were thinking that way, and then the writers were just like, we want to do this but we can't, and so then they threw in a romance between a straight couple, so that now there was no chance that that thing would ever happen. But I don't want to give it away because you haven't watched Deep Space Nine yet.
There's no reason to anyway. Why would you give it away?
Because it's sort of like it's more of like a fan fiction thing. Like everything's sort of implied, but nothing's ever stated out loud. And because the fans were like, but we want this, the producers were like, we're not going to give that to you guys. It's the 90s. We don't do that.
Well, yeah, but I get the point from that. You wouldn't have to spoil anything anyway. I don't see why you would. Yeah. Why would you say any more than you already have done?
I don't know. I'm not going to.
I rest my case. Okay. But no, it's a sweet moment.
I don't know how you won that.
But I rest my, see, now I'm saying I rest my case again. You've thrown me off. But she says that's a sweet moment. But what's good about this is that everything they come in and say isn't just out the blue, because even Franklin's, which is arguably the lesser one, is something that has been set up. We had an episode, was it earlier this season or late last season? I actually don't remember off the top of my head how far back this was. It may have been late last season, with him taking stims and Garibaldi pointing it out and kind of trying to get him to admit he's got a problem, and kind of dropping it when Franklin got kind of heated about it and kind of fired back. But we did see that he was having a problem and he was still taking, and he doesn't even specify what it is, but him even walking in and saying I've got a problem when he wouldn't admit it before.
That's the first step to sobriety, right?
It's something. But everything that they came in and said was based on who they've been in some capacity. Now, admittedly, his was one episode. Ivanova's was a bit more than that.
Yeah.
And obviously Sheridan's is, Garibaldi's arguably is the longest one, because Garibaldi's, his problems have been a feature since early season 1. But, so it gave that scene weight. It wasn't just a bunch of random... Yeah, it wasn't like one of them came in and went, oh, when I was 9 years old, I kicked little Susie in the kneecap and I never told anyone and she cried for a week. Or, it wasn't anything stupid and random like that. It was all stuff that made sense. Why are you staring at me like that?
I don't know. I'm trying to think that who you could apply that to. Maybe Bridge Boy.
Bridge Boy's not coming out to confess anything. Bridge Boy's never done a bad thing in a day in his life. He's too pure. He's too pure and innocent. But yes, then Lanier tells them that they've got like a gift from Delenn, who kind of predicted some of this. And I'm like, oh, it's new uniforms. They've got new uniforms. Like, immediately I was like, they have to wear something on the bridge. There's no way they're just going, like, if one of us showing up in a party shirt. This isn't happening. So sure enough, the final scene is them all walking into the bridge. The crew all turn and look as they walk in these new fancy black outfits that have got a new trim. Look very stylish. Very, very, very
I'd say
hip.
they're more navy, like a deep navy blue. With like silver embellishments. It's very sleek. Plus it also has a little triangle thing, kind of like in the Star Trek movies when they wear all the reds, but when they want to go like casual, they open up that one flap. That one has the flap like built in as the decoration.
Yeah, it's not a flap in this case because it's not got a bounce to it. It's actually just part of the design. There's like a triangle.
Yeah. But it's good look. Almost like casual B5. but like still sleek. I like it.
But yeah,
I want one of those red jackets, by the way. I want one.
Oh, from Star Trek?
Yeah.
Okay.
That I can open up the flap. One day.
Okay.
What? I got dreams. I got them too, okay?
So sometimes you pivot in into a weird tangent that we're in, like, we hit like a wall where I'm like, I don't know where to move the conversation from here. That was such a weird place to go. Just suddenly.
Whatever.
I want a Star Trek jacket.
Who would want one of those? Plus, you always know when somebody's like off work because the flap's open. Just relaxing. It's practical. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yes. So Sharda says, "What's the matter? You never seen someone who's had a rebirth before?" I'm like, no, not really. I don't know what that looks like, but sure. But it's a good moment. It's a good. It says we're open for business. Let all the ships know that are sort of trying to dock that we're here. We're ready to go. They've got control of the computer and the comms and all the stuff. So it's like, okay, this is our new B5. If anything, this was kind of a transition episode, and not in the way that I normally use that phrase, where I'm talking about them moving things around, but more in the sense of it's a literal transition episode of this is us sorting out the odds and ends so that we can reopen the station as this independent place, because they had to kind of figure some things out first. So
you know what's crazy? Speaking of these uniforms, yesterday I was at Disneyland or California Adventure, and they close early because they have Halloween parties now on the weekends, like every night. But like at the end of the afternoon, some people start to get there, and it's the only time you're allowed to wear costumes. And I swear I saw this one yesterday. I saw somebody, like a couple, walk by, and the guy was wearing a uniform, like a sci-fi uniform. I'm like, I think that's Babylon 5, but there's something not quite right. And I think it was this uniform. Which is crazy.
It's entirely possible that this is the uniform that fans of the show think of first, because it's the one that they have now. Maybe
it's pretty
till the
sleek
end.
looking. I like it a lot.
Yeah, maybe the one that they have now for the rest of the show. And if that's the case, then it's maybe like all the big dramatic stuff goes down with them wearing this uniform. So it's the one that they, or even that, it's just that this is the one they chose to wear. This is the one that they chose as a statement.
Right.
So
people really seem to love season 3 and 4. So if there's the one that lasts at least into season 4, it's probably the one that they think of and like the most.
Yeah, I wonder if the rest of the crew are going to get this, or if they're going to still be in their blue with their B5
They got to know
logos.
Delenn or Delenn's Taylor.
Yeah, maybe she's ordered in bulk, right? It's like that scene, the end of D2, the Mighty Ducks, when they've been wearing the USA jerseys the whole time, right? And the old man who trained
Ralph?
Emilio Estevez when he was a kid, he comes in and he's like, look, I know you're sick of all this red, white, and blue bollocks, right? You're ducks. You want to be ducks. And he opens a box. He's got them all made, the Mighty Ducks jerseys, which at the time I think were actually them transitioning to what the actual Mighty Ducks team in real life were, because they were a new team or something around that time. I don't know. Ask Matt. Matt'll know. Matt, he's a hockey nut. But I'm imagining Delenn coming in with a cardboard box and saying, all right, everyone, get your new uniforms.
I bet a lot of people who are watching this review are like, who the hell is Matt?
Matt's on the comics podcast with me. Go check out Comics in the Multiverse if you like DC Comics. Matt's on that. He loves ice hockey and wrestling and punk music. Anyway, so yeah, no, ending's really, really solid, really good stuff. But we have glossed over some things that I do think are important scenes in one way or another. Cole takes it very personally that Delenn got nabbed on his watch, and he goes to the bar to fight some scoundrels that he previously kind of set up in the episode, that table of guys that he just stays out of their way and they stay out of his. But he goes back for information because he's trying to find Delenn, and they give him this big like action badass moment where he's like, well, you're going to tell me if you know anything, or in 5 minutes everyone at this table but me, or I'm the only one at this table who's going to be standing, and then 5 minutes after that I'm going to be the only one standing in this room. And they're all like,
big words.
Yeah, they're like, oh yeah, okay, sure. So they all stand up, we cut away, we come back, and like sure enough, he's wiped the floor with like everyone in this room. It's just a fun sequence. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The sellers on Cole being a badass, maybe a little hard with this, but
well, I mean, because we don't get to see him fight at all, and we have seen him fight in other episodes. I mean, I like those scenes. Like it's good choreography, but like we just see the aftermath of like if it's a comic book thing, the next panel is like everybody's dead and sprawled out on the ground, and he's standing alone. He's not even like out of breath or anything either.
It'd
like
be
he
like,
just fought like 40 people.
It'd be like watching Old Boy, but they cut out the hallway fight, and you just see them all lying there at the end.
Yeah.
But what makes it badass is seeing him beat the shit out of everyone in that hallway for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Original, but I mean, I assume they attempted the hallway fight in the remake, but I never saw it because I'm not a pleb.
I haven't seen either.
I'm being harsh. I have no ill will towards you if you've seen the Old Boy remake. I just disapprove of its existence. Anyway,
I feel the same way about RoboCop.
Sure. But Lanier shows up, and Lanier's been a little weird because Lanier is still like planning for the rebirth ceremony, and he's not really like gunning to find Elen, and Cole kind of points this out, and it's like, no, like I want to be looking for her, sure, but like she asked me to do this, so I'm going to do it.
He says I would tear the station apart bit by bit to find her.
And we get a very interesting scene where he says, okay, as part of the ceremony, I have to admit something to someone that I've never said it before. And he tells Cole that he loves Delenn. And
cut to commercial.
But what's interesting is when he clarifies it, when we come back to the scene and he clarifies it, he makes a point of saying it's not romantic as you would know. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Like, it makes sense that he loves her. You know, in a family kind of way or a friend kind of way or whatever. But then he does kind of say that she's destined to be with someone else, and I've accepted that, which then kind of puts it back into, okay, all right, okay. So you do want a bit of that Minbari MILF action then, Delenn. Sorry, Lanier. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think I sort of took it as like it's more of a worship. Like I don't even think it's matronly. I think it's beyond that. It's like the way people love their god, where like she could do no wrong. It is a mentor relationship, but he says it's a little bit beyond that. So I think he just sort of worships her, which, you know, watch out, Sheridan. Like, you better be good enough for Lanier to accept.
Lanier's going to be standing there with a baseball bat. You break her heart, I'll break your kneecaps.
Yeah. I think that's it. I think it's kind of like, or like the way there's like a famous moment or a pretty big moment in like Game of Thrones when like a guy would do anything for like his queen, the Daenerys woman, the blonde one. And, you know, it feels like that kind of a relationship of love. Like, he truly does love her, but like, you know, and maybe if she's open to it, it would be romantic, but like it's beyond romance. Like, even giving into somebody in a romantic way allows for maybe some of that love to be construed with something else. So, and they don't want that because it needs to be more pure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm cracking jokes, obviously, but I do think it is leaning towards less romantic than it is romantic. Because, I mean, not only because he says that, even though the thing he says after it does sound like, well, if it's not a romantic love, then why do you have to make peace with her, you know, settling with someone else? And of course, Tara's like light bulbs going, Sheridan, ding, 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 ding. But I mean, I suppose in some ways that still kind of makes sense. Like, I mean, not that he sees himself as the father to a daughter here, but just to compare it to that for a second, like, a father to a daughter still has mixed feelings about the daughter one day settling with a man. It's still something that he has to kind of, you know, come to peace with and accept it and understand how he feels about it. But it's not that he's romantically interested in his, well, he's most. I mean, I could crack a joke about certain places here, but I'm not going to because I'm classy. I'm a classy person. But, you know,
Gus trying to eat my microphone. Sorry. Hey.
Yes.
Okay.
We're
done here, guys. We're done here.
That's a cat love of cables, is what that is.
But he's attacking my sweater.
The cat has to make peace with the fact that the cable's not for him. That's not its purpose.
It's too many claws.
But it was interesting. I think the most telling part of this, regardless of how you interpret this, because I think partially you could interpret this as, oh, this is a Minbari expression of something that maybe we'll just never quite understand completely because we don't necessarily have a direct comparison for this type of lover relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And if you accept that, then that's cool, and I think that works. But the most telling thing about the scene, though, and the most telling thing about this admission is that this is not something he has told her. This is something he is telling to Cole, and maybe either will never tell her or feels embarrassed about telling her, which does tell you that it's maybe at least a bit more than what we would typically class of a friendship love or something like that, because it is something he feels, I don't want to say embarrassed necessarily, but he thinks it would
Private.
make things, yeah, he seemed, one way or another, he thinks it would affect the relationship negatively by telling her. And that maybe at least gives it a little bit of a spice, because it's like, well, that at least implies he thinks she'll react in a way that is one way or the other, or yeah. So you know, that part of it, whatever you want to read from why he won't tell her, that the fact that he doesn't tell her and he tells someone else and it's an admission, tells you enough about it to get a feeling of it. So, that's my serious analysis of it.
Very good.
Yeah. Well, you rolled your eyes when I cracked the MILF joke. I wanted to crack a joke, okay? That's all. All right.
Yeah. Well, you got it out there. Good job.
We have to talk about Londo. Rifa comes to visit.
Mm-hmm.
And Londo gives him part 1 of a poison and threatens that one of his agents will give him the second part of the poison, which did make me go, well, why does he have to have the first part? Why can't he just have an agent poison him with something that works on its own immediately? Just to question the logic a little. Maybe, I don't know. I guess it's more threatening because you've already given him something to show that you can. I guess that's the point of it. But I mean, he could equally, if he has to have someone give him something. It
seems like he just has a kill switch in a way.
Well, yeah, but it's no different to not having anything and
right.
still and
instead of having
him,
2, it's just 1.
Yeah, but he could easily just threaten, I have someone in the palace who could come and poison you at any time. It's the same threat either way. But like I said, this at least gives him a little bit of fear because I already tricked you. I've already given you something. But it doesn't even have to be real, because the second thing could just be the full poison.
Well, I did think of I did think of that actually, because there was that line in I don't know if it was The Gathering or one of the early episodes where is it Shakar who thinks that he's been given something, like Sinclair like poisoned him or gave him nanites or something, and he's going to, like, the threat is that like all of his doctors are going to be looking for it for forever, and there's not going to be anything there, but because it's microscopic, they're going to keep looking for it anyway.
No, I remember this. It was bluffing though, right? That was a bluff.
It was a bluff, yeah. But they don't know it's a bluff, so that that torture is going to be with them forever.
Sure, yeah, it could be more of that. I mean, that was more of a noble goal when Sinclair gave that threat, but
yeah.
But hey, you know,
I guess unless, like, you know, I think it was Shakar, unless they're like he's gone through like some major surgeries to try to find the stuff that's in him.
No, it was Shakar. It was definitely Shakar.
Yeah.
What's that? I think it was. Anyway, so
yeah, it's been a while.
So the point of the scene, though, is that Rifa's still been working with Morden. He's still been working with the Shadows, and Londo wants all this to stop. And he basically threatens him and says, "No, you're going to stop this right now. You're starting a war on 12 fronts," as he puts it, by trying to take over all these smaller worlds that are on the outskirts of our space.
Yeah, and it's leaving us vulnerable.
It's leaving us vulnerable, but it's also a case of like, you're doing all this and you're spreading us thin, like you say, it's leaving us vulnerable in Satari Prime, but it's also like, why are you doing all this? Like, even Londo at this point is like, why are we expanding this much this quick? What's the purpose of this? Like, this is just dick waving for the sake of dick waving, and there's no real need for it. And Londo's been pretty, you know, he in the past has been quite happy to flaunt and quite happy to show his strength and sort of make it clear that the Centauri should be seen as the dominant species in the galaxy. He's always been about that. But even he's like, why are you doing this? This is too much. Like this.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it tells you that even Londo at this point still has some kind of sense of reality. Like, still has something. I mean, the line has moved compared to everyone else, but it's still not as... He's still got some sort of line in his mind where Rifa's just splurging and just can't stop himself. So, admittedly, though, I mean, it is interesting to hear Londo actually say that whatever the shadows are up to, and I think the way he puts it is they're building a black hole in the center of the galaxy, and when they fall in, we don't want to be going with them. It's the way
too close to them.
Yeah, but it's the way he phrases it, which maybe is the first time he's kind of openly kind of said something along the lines of, they might actually be our demise if, I mean, he doesn't know that for sure, but he at least is starting to kind of worry that they might be.
And he's got a hologram.
Oh, that was a great cut. Do you know what I liked about this? Because he pulls out the hologram of Morden saying that he made a deal with Rifa, which we saw in whatever episode that was. What I liked about this is he tried to do this back at the start of season 2 with Sheridan. He tried to plant a recording device and got caught. So this actually felt like a really nice
the
thing.
magician.
Yeah, this felt like a nice... it was a mage. A magician. It wasn't Joe Bluth with his playing cards.
Trick is something a whore does for money or candy.
But no, I love this because this was like, no, we've seen him try to do this and fail. But so when he pulled that out and played the little recording, I went, oh, I know he tries this. I've seen him try to do this before, and it's nice that at some point he did this without us knowing, and it doesn't feel like a cheat because we know he tries to.
Yeah.
So that was neat. I thought it was a neat little callback.
It was nice that he was a villain against somebody who is also a villain.
More villainous, one might even say.
Rifa, who's getting too greedy.
Yeah, obviously we'd love to root for Londo. It may take a lot of doing though, before we get there.
Yes.
But
and he was rude to Delenn, and I didn't appreciate that.
He was rude to Delenn, that is true. But Delenn, bless her, was trying her best, even in the face of his arrogance, was trying to keep inviting him no matter what. It was a sight to see.
He didn't show up at the end though. It was just the humans.
What, Londo?
Yeah, Londo and Jakar.
No, Londo never said he was going to I mean, to be fair to Jakar though, the actual planned thing, whatever it was going to be, didn't happen. Like,
yeah. The
humans went to her in our med bay, which is a separate kind of make good. So.
Yeah.
Oh, do you know what? Now I'm sad that Bridgeboy didn't walk in at the very end of the scene. Like, he was the last person and just admitted something silly as a joke. I once cheated on a maths test. And I just walked out. And I know I said I appreciated that all of the things they said weren't something stupid and random like that. It would have been fine for Bridgeboy to have a joke one. Just as a little punchline.
Or Zach Allen would have been nice to see.
Oh, there you go.
Just to
Zach.
have, because he's been pretty crucial this season, and it would have been nice to have him like also give up his uniform. He already gave up, the armband. But.
Yeah, Zach, the one human character that I will refer to by his first name, and that's not changing.
We have rules. We don't know what they are, but we make them up as we go.
And when you look up some of the other characters on the show and their manifest or whatever, it's a station. I don't know if it'd have a manifest. They're just whoever's there currently. It'll be boy, bridge that's listed on that list. All right, I want to make that clear. The one thing we've not talked about, bizarrely,
I actually don't know his name. I know it's been brought up, but I always forget anyway.
I mean, I can tell you if you want. It's always
no, he's Bridgeboy.
Okay. All right, fair enough. The one thing we've not talked about in this episode, somehow we've made it this far, is the sassy AI.
Because it's the worst part of the episode. Like, somehow it's worse than like the bad acting of the villains in this one.
This was silly. Even the joke at the end where Garibaldi gets so annoyed at hearing it talk, he shoots the speaker or whatever it is in the elevator. did just kind of come off as kind of a lame little moment. So luckily,
yeah, it's just, comedy works a lot in this show, but this one was, I don't know, it was not working for me. It was too silly.
It was just a bit too much. Luckily, it's only in 2 scenes. It's in the scene where they set it up, and then it's in the scene at the end. Because it's right after Ivanova says to Sheridan or whoever, "Oh, like we're still, getting rid of that AI, but otherwise everything's good to go." So, yeah.
Like, if you're gonna have an AI, at least make him evil, because that would have been funny. Like Proteus from Demon Seed.
Sure.
Like just extra evil.
The closest I got to even cracking a smile with this is when they say we'll have to shut him off again, because when they sort of explain what's happening and why it's happening, and he just sort of goes, "Hey, I can hear you." That was the closest I got to slightly cracking a smile, but that was it.
It's Harlan Ellison who does the voice of him, which was a surprise. I've never heard him talk before. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it came up in the credits after.
Some sci-fi royalty, not for his voice work, admittedly, but sci-fi royalty all the same. Yeah, the accent was weird. The accent was one of the things that was making it not work, because it was too.
Yeah, totally.
It was too. I'm not saying it has to sound like Siri or Microsoft Sam, or it doesn't have to be
or
that.
HAL 9000.
Or HAL, yeah. But it was just a little bit too colloquial to really make sense.
Yeah, it was so specific of an accent, so I don't know. It was too much.
Yeah. I mean, admittedly, I'm not saying there's not some like voices that would be silly that I would pop for just because of who it is. Like, if this was Arnold, right, and it was like, "I'm a computer."
Yeah, but you could see how like a nerd would be like, "Who has the best voice? Let's do Arnold Schwarzenegger."
In the year 2260.
If you had a voice, like if you could change your navigator or something on your phone to the voice of Arnold, like of course you would pick it.
I think I would like to keep this Babylon 5 focused. I think I would like both Londo and Jakar bickering about what they're telling me every time.
No, that would be so irritating.
Like, Jakar tells you to take a left, and then Londo's like, "You idiot, don't take a left, you go this way instead."
No, I would like the Terminator. Or just Arnold to tell me to like get to the Taco Bell or something. Do it now. Turn left.
Can you turn any location into the same sort of inflection he does with Chopper? I don't know if you can. I think some of them might be quite tough.
I mean, specific addresses would be hard.
Get to Sunset Boulevard. Jeez, it's tough. But yeah, so that was a bit silly. So I think that the dodgy acting and the villains who are a bit hammy, that kind of drags it down to like just good status. But there's some really good stuff in the episode. The suits are a big
pretty
deal.
high notes at the end though. I really did enjoy the end.
Yeah, the new outfits are a big deal. The admissions are a big deal, and some good little character beats sprinkled throughout. So that's neat.
I thought I was going to get a little soapy with Lanier admitting, I'm like, oh, another love triangle. Didn't expect this, but then like right away, the next scene, the next line even is, it's not romantic.
Yeah. I think I have enough faith in this show at this point that I don't think, like, how weird would it be if they tried to make Lanier the third part of a love triangle with Sheridan and Delenn?
I mean, it would never happen.
No, it'd be so weird.
Like, why would Delenn would not choose Lanier over Sheridan? There's no way.
No. See, Ivanova obviously has a thing, like, because Bridge Boy, right? But but
she's got Bridge Boy, Cole, and the history of Talia.
Yes. Whereas I think Delenn doesn't have a thing for the toy boy kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's not her thing. So, what a weird, wonderful conversation this episode has been. So I guess that'll about wrap it up. So we have so we're halfway through the season. That's 11 out of 22. So we'll be back next week. Of course.
Halfway through the series, then, huh?
Oh, I guess technically. Assuming they're all 22 episodes, which I think that they're close enough. Like, I want to say like season 5 is only 20. I don't know why I think that. Maybe I'm wrong. But for some reason in my head, I'm thinking that it might be like 2 less. But whatever.
Only there's a way we could check. But alas, that way doesn't exist. So.
All right, fine. I'm checking. Okay, you want me to check? I'm checking. Well, it depends though, because The Gathering was before season 1, so.
And does it count as like 2 episodes?
Yeah, if that counts as 2 episodes, and technically last time was like the end of the first half, if you will, because it weighs it a little bit towards the start.
So we're into the second. Although I like that the rebirth would be in the middle.
Oh, season 5's 22. I'm talking nonsense. I'm thinking of a different show. Clearly, it happens from time to time.
Yeah.
So
well,
there you go.
I guess we get the rebirth halfway through the series.
Mm-hmm.
New uniforms, new attitude on life for some of them, new loves, new confessions.
Thank you for joining us, everyone. You can let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments below.
Tell us your confession that you've never told anyone.
Please don't. Like and subscribe and all that stuff. Ding the bell for notifications. All those things do help us on YouTube. And of course, you can send your confessions as well as your monetary support over to Patreon, can't they, Tara?
That's right, Peter. If you enjoy our reviews, please check out our Patreon page. It's patreon.com/MildfuzzTV. And if you donate as low as $1 per month, you'll get access to bonus episodes of other shows we do. And if you donate $5 per month, you'll get access to these episodes 6 days early. So tomorrow, if you're watching this right away, you can see what we think of the next episode, which maybe you like more. Maybe you're excited to know.
Unless you're watching this on Patreon early already, in which case disregard that last comment.
That wasn't for the patrons. That was for we're plugging for the people who don't.
Sure. True. If you're already a patron, you don't have to listen to the Patreon plug.
No, you can skip. Although there's some gold sometimes.
Yeah, outside of me trying to keep a straight face whenever Tara starts off with "That's right, Peter," and that presenter voice she puts on.
I don't understand. Like, you forced me to do this outro, this Patreon plug, and yet you try to sabotage it. Like, from the beginning, you've tried to sabotage me.
Because it's fun. Because I'm an agent of chaos.
Because you're a jerk.
A little bit. Let us know what you thought of the episode, as I said before. But that is us. You can get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. And you can, of course, check out other content over on the Mailed Fuzz Movies channel, which has a science fiction movie podcast called The Atomic Cinema Experiment, the ACE, which myself and Tara are also on together, talking about sci-fi movies. Yeah, we just did They Live, we did Predator 2, and of course we did Predator 1 a while before that. Speaking of getting to the chopper, so go check out that if you're interested. There's over 100 episodes of that bad boy now, so go and have a look-see. But that is us. So thank you once again for watching and listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching Babylon 5. Just don't give away the home world.